So right now what I'm working on as a project is building a Riddling Wine Rack. So as you can see, this is kind of going to be our project that we're most of the way in, and I forgot to do the videotaping at that stage. So we're going to kind of go back and show you how we got to this point. So we started with what we got right here. This is an 8-foot sheet of board. We started out with a 12-foot board, and then we kind of broke it down from there. So we took this 8-foot board, which actually originally again was 12 foot. We drew it out, marked it at 4 foot. So we wanted 3 4-foot boards. So the 4 foot was going to be our length for this wine rack. So once we got that 4-foot length that we wanted, that was going to be our height. Again, this is they suggested online doing like an oak or cherry, things like that. I just went for whatever was cheapest. So this is 3/4 inch thick by about 5 inches wide. This is just a weather shield that I got at Home Depot. It was about $7. So I went over here, pretend I cut this because I'm actually going to use this later on for something. So I threw it through there, cut that at 4 inches, or 4 foot, brought it back. Because what we have to do for the hanging Riddling Wine Rack is you have to cut your holes at a 45-degree angles. So it's great if you have some special tools and things like that. But being pretty basic, we didn't have those tools. So some people told us online what to do was to cut a 2x4 at a 45-degree angle and use that. Still, we ran into some issues, so what we used then was a 2x4. So I just grabbed a 2x4 from over here, went over here, set this, moved it from my 0-degree angle, set it at my 45-degree, set the 2x4 up, went down, cut it, got the angle I needed, and then kind of tried to figure out how I would work using that to provide my angle. So once I had that cut at my 45-degree angle, I came back over here, mounted it, as you can see, at the end of the table using some vice grips. I was able to hold it here steady. I'll kind of show you from the side. So if you hold it steady, you'll see how it'll kind of create that plane, and then you drill in at a straight angle. So you drill in parallel to how the table is and the 2x4 is, and that'll create your 45-degree angle. Once you hold it straight, as you can see, these holes are actually drilled at a 45-degree angle coming down. So that's what you want to have, that 45-degree angle coming down. But it was kind of hard once I got going. Initially it's easier, you can prop it up with your knee, you can hold it, but as you're going, it gets a little holder. So I actually had my wife come help me with some of them. It's easier for her just to hold it, and then I just push through them all. Now that we're at the point we are today, I can actually show you guys where we're at right now. Again, 2 of the boards have already been basically finished and are ready for framing. We're going to do some more, one more, I think, coat of stain for them. But this one hasn't been sanded at all, so this one's just been drilled the first time through. But because of the method of drilling that I did for it, I do need to do some touch-up drilling. If you guys use the method that I kind of suggested with the 2x4, there's 2 ways that you may drill it on the 2x4. So one is going all the way through. If you go all the way through using your drill bit, you may end up doing kind of what I did, going into it. Or you may have some kind of jagged if you go higher or lower depending on how you go through, which just kind of runs an error. Or you may stop halfway as soon as you start to get a little loose. Then you can flip the board around, obviously, and then drill from the opposite direction, coming from an upward angle, which makes it real easy, pops out. You don't have to deal with any of the wood getting stuck in here and trying to pop that out because the wood's cut at a different angle. And by the way, I used a 1.5 inch for all my holes. And I've tested it with other wine racks I've done, so the 1.5 inch does work. But if you do it like I did, where you flip it around and you cut it from the opposite direction, some of the holes aren't actually cut completely through, so they're cut at 2 different angles. So what we do right now is I've kind of fixed it up to the side of my table here, and then we just take the drill again, and we just run it back through, and just kind of make sure that we've got a clean hole all the way through. So just real quick, that'll just kind of clean up that one. And that'll clean up that one if there's any catches in there, and we'll do that all the way through. Once we've done that, again, the next stage is sanding. So I've actually already done the rest of them for you, but the next stage is sanding, so I'm not going to show you the rest of that. The sanding is just basically the same. You can do it by hand, by electric if you've got that. Electric's a little bit easier, but you would definitely want to make sure you sand inside there as well, because that, again, may not be completely smooth. If you got electric, it's going to be quicker for the outside, but don't sand too much on the outside if you've got the nice grain, if you've got cherry, oak, things like that. But you want to definitely get rid of everything, all the... So after you're done sanding both sides, so you sand both sides, sand all through the holes, everything, flip it over. The next part that comes up is going to be the stain, of course. So the stain that we're using on this is our red mahogany. So we're going to take it outside, we're going to stain it just like we've already done with the other two. We may actually do another coat on the stain. Is actually using just a paper towel. So my mom taught me this technique a few years ago. My mom actually was an interior decorator, so I picked that up from her, and by using a paper towel versus paintbrush, not only definitely cheaper, less cleanup, but you can actually apply the stain directly as you want to, thicker in some areas, you know, lighter in other areas, so it's a lot easier to get it directly as you want to, as you want to apply that stain. Plus, as you're going, just general tip, you always want to go with the grain as you're applying this, the stain. So we're always going to go up and down vertically here. We're never going to go, you know, side to side. We're always going to go up and down. That's just so that it looks natural with the stain, so that we're not globbing anything any opposite direction. As you can tell right through here, there's one nick where as we were drilling, the drill got free and kind of spun across, so that's one issue we have. But as we come to it, the benefit is that this is actually going to be our opposite side, so this will be the back side, but we stain the whole board. So we're going to stain the back first, then we'll stain the front, and we're going to work on the holes as we go, but we're working on everything. So so what I'm in here doing right now is we're going to be drilling, I'm sorry, not drilling, but we're going to be adding some boards to the back of these things. I just want to show you. So this right here, what I'm looking at is, I'm going to try to angle the camera for you. This is going to be the front of our wine rack. And I just kind of brought a bottle on to show you. So with the front of the wine rack as it is right now, the bottle tilts at a downward angle, and we don't want that. We always want it to tilt at an upward angle like that. So by tilting at the upward angle, again, it's going to go in towards the cork or towards the top, which is what you want, so it'll kind of infuse the flavor of the cork and keep the circulation going, which is what naturally would happen if the board was being cut at a 45-degree angle, like most Riddling wine racks. But again, since this is going to be a hanging wine rack, it's just going to go straight up and down. We could get the backing at an angle, but we're just going straight up and down with that. So what we're going to do is our holes are still cut at the angle, but we're gonna kind of trick it here. I've cut some smaller wood that's about just over half an inch wide. It's 16 inches long, so we're going to lay it across all three, but we're going to lay it across the top. And I've only painted 3 of the sides, so just in case if I wasn't sure which side I was going to be using for the top or the bottom, we're going to lay it from the top down. And by laying it from the top down, because this is the top of our rack, this is the bottom over here, so space to the bottom. The top of our wine rack, what we're going to do is it's going to actually force that bottle down, and I'll kind of show you what I mean by that here. So again, this is our top of the wine rack here, bottom down here. So our hole, we're going to put this at the top kind of third of our hole right there. So our bottle still has room to go in through right there. I'm going to kind of hold that steady right there. By putting it in right there, actually I don't have a very good grip on it. But by forcing it in right there, it's going to actually keep it at that upward angle. So when we put that in, I'm not only going to wood glue it across all 3, but I'm also going to go through and nail gun it on the back of each one. That instead of putting all the boards right next to each other, they created a little space in between to kind of give it some dimension and some look that it's actually real wood that you're using, and not just paneling of wood. So I went ahead and created little 1/2 inch spacers. So I went ahead and did that with the 1/2 inch spacers. You can cut more if you want, but I just went ahead and did 8 of them. So I've got 4 between each board. That'll help me. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use some clamps over here that I've got, and I'll secure it along each side. And obviously I'm going to use you know, my right angle to make sure I'm actually doing everything correct as I go. But I just want to kind of give you the idea of what I'm doing and how I'm doing the back of this to make sure that the bottles actually tilt at the correct angle, and so you know what I was doing with these to begin with, versus just wondering why I was cutting more wood and again staining and drying that as well.